Hello, everybody. I have a very special episode today. I'm very excited to be joined by no other than Roger Ver. I hope I'm saying it right. Roger Ver or Roger Ver. I'm not sure. Roger Ver, I think it is. So I know at least 95 to 99% of people who follows me on YouTube. You guys know already who Roger is and what he does, but since I'm going to be sharing this with friends and family as well and on my personal Facebook, so maybe you, Roger, want to introduce yourself and tell them who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Roger Ver. I was the first person in the entire world to start investing in Bitcoin-related startups, and today I'm the CEO of Bitcoin.com.
All right, so I have a few questions for you here. I'm going to start. I have a few questions of my own, and then I have a few questions from my followers as well that they wanted me to ask you. So I'm going to start with my questions. There's a lot of misinformation in the internet today. A lot of people saying that Bitcoin Cash is very centralized, is a centralized project because of the development and because of the mining. So what are the main development teams right now for Bitcoin Cash? Is there, who are the main teams?
So it's actually funny, I've noticed the same thing online. So many people say that Bitcoin Cash development is centralized, but with Bitcoin Core, there is one, count them on my one single finger, one development team working on Bitcoin Core. And yeah, there's a lot of developers that participate there, but there's only a few of them that are actually super, super active contributors, whereas with Bitcoin Cash, there are multiple different development teams with multiple different developers within each team. So the two most popular, most famous, of course, are the Bitcoin ABC, led by Omni, as well as the Bitcoin Unlimited team as well. And there's a bunch of developers in both of those teams as well. And then the big news that just came out is it looks like the Bitcoin Cash mining pools are going to start funding that development directly with a portion of the block rewards, which I think is really, really exciting as well. If I can add a little bit more if anybody goes to the GitHub repositories for the Bitcoin Cash full node implementations. And there's Bcash as well, put out by Burst.io that has a team of developers working on that full node implementation as well. And you'll look at all of these GitHub repositories for the different full node implementations of Bitcoin Cash. There's a bunch of different developers and they're really active. Just because people on the internet say something doesn't mean it's true. So when they claim that Bitcoin Cash development is centralized.
Agree. Okay, so following up on this, what are some of the interesting projects under development right now on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain?
Yeah, and for me, it's the same thing that I've been interested in from day one when I first got involved in Bitcoin. The killer app for Bitcoin Cash is Cash, and that was the killer app for Bitcoin to begin with. And now that Bitcoin split into Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Core doesn't have that killer app of being usable as Cash. The fees are too high. The transactions are slow and unreliable, whereas Bitcoin Cash transactions are just like Bitcoin was in the early days, fast, cheap, and reliable. And that's a killer app right then and there in and of itself. And one of the great applications for that actually is Purse.io. It's been one of the websites that I've been super excited about for a long time because it allows anybody to get a 15, 20, 25% discount on whatever they're buying from Amazon. That's fantastic. And that gives reason for people all over the world to want to use Bitcoin Cash. And they just announced at the CoinGeek conference in Hong Kong 48 hours ago that they've been paying all of their employees at Purse.io in Bitcoin Cash since December, whereas previously they've been paying all of them in Bitcoin Core. And that just shows, the companies that are paying their employees in cryptos, those are the ones that truly believe in this whole ecosystem. So more power to Purse.io.
All right. Yeah, I saw that recently as well. So any other projects or any other different things that's going on now on the Bitcoin Cash network?
So two more that are just getting started and they're still in their infancy are Memo.cash and Blockpress.com, which are basically kind of like Twitter, except for that the tweets are being embedded directly into the blockchain, so they can't be censored or erased or removed, which is a big problem on Twitter right now, how they're trying to manipulate the social consensus of what people are saying on Twitter. So I'm looking forward to having a Twitter-like platform that nobody can control or manipulate or modify. And I think that's a pretty exciting thing.
That's very good, yeah. Yeah, so I usually have a hard time believing any news that I see online when it comes to anything related to blockchain. I don't care if it's Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, I don't care. There's a lot of news and a lot of hype and a lot of misinformation. So I've heard recently, I saw in one YouTube video, I like this channel, I follow these guys, I think they're legit, but they were talking about something like atomic swaps that's going to happen on the Bitcoin Cash network. Have you heard about this at all?
Yeah, I think the Komodo guys have already done a cross-chain atomic swap between Komodo and Bitcoin Cash. But for me, I'm not so excited about that. Like, it's just fine and dandy, but like let's make it work as money for the world first, and then if it works really, really well, then what do you need to swap it for something else for?
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's the main utility, to use it as cash. But since we have so many problems with centralized exchanges as well, I think that would be a big deal if there was a decentralized way to do this. Yeah.
Similar things with services like Shapeshift.io.
Yeah, I use that one all the time.
Sure, and so the cross-chain atomic swaps will just make the same thing instant. And you don't have to wait around for Shapeshift or Changely to do their thing. So like faster is better than slower, but
yeah. So like I said before, I don't believe many things I see online. I remember last year, I think it was in the beginning of 2017, it was all over the news that Bitcoin became legal tender in Japan. Bitcoin Cash didn't exist back then, but I remember it was all over the crypto news that the Japanese government accepted Bitcoin as a legal tender, so business could accept it and you could exchange it like any other national currency. But I was never able to verify this through any official document or any official government website or anything. So since you live there in Japan most of the time, do you know if this is true, or do you know firsthand? Or because I've never heard about this again, so I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't follow internal Japanese, domestic politics real closely, but it does seem to be the case that Bitcoin is usable as money at major merchants in Japan. So, like, for those that watch this video from the U.S., the Japanese equivalent of somewhere between Best Buy and a Walmart accepts Bitcoin right there at the register, and I suspect we'll be seeing them accepting Bitcoin Cash directly since everybody stopped paying with Bitcoin. Okay,
so what's next here? Yeah, this is a personal question. I always wanted to know this because I have been using Bitcoin before we had Bitcoin Cash. I have been using it a lot, almost on a daily basis, to get paid and to pay for things online or whenever I can. But there's one thing I was never able to buy yet using Bitcoin. When I say Bitcoin, I mean Bitcoin Cash now, or any other crypto for this matter, is flights. I cannot book a flight. I travel quite a lot, and I would like to book flights using Bitcoin Cash, preferably, or any other crypto. But, I go on Google and I do a Google search and I see a few options there, but then I go in the website and there's not many options, or it's super expensive, or I don't really like the website, so I was never able to do it. So I wanted to ask you, because I know you travel a lot as well, do you actually pay for your flights in Bitcoin, Cash, or crypto?
Sure. So cheapair.com allows you to do it right now today, and then there's another one I think called Destina.com, which I haven't used as much. And then for anybody out there listening that's from Expedia or Travelocity or Orbitz or any of those, there's a bunch of people out there that would love to use your websites with Bitcoin Cash directly. So go set up your BitPay account and get started. We would love to use those sites directly. But special thanks to cheapair.com for paving the way with Bitcoin originally, and now being one of the very first to accept Bitcoin Cash as well. So go and give cheapair.com a try.
Awesome. Is there any website that anyone can check where to spend Bitcoin Cash physically? For example, I would love to spend Bitcoin Cash here somewhere if there were shops. I don't think there is anywhere near here, but is there a website with a map where you can actually find physical locations to spend your Bitcoin Cash?
Yeah, I feel like you might already know the answers to these questions.
I wanna, cheat it from you.
I'm aware of a website, an app called, I forget which the name was, but if you search for it, it'll come up near you. And it's really fun seeing the locations in Tokyo because they're all the first to begin with back in like 2012 or 13 or 14. And of them bothers to pay with Bitcoin Core anymore, and now they're busy paying with Bitcoin Cash. So it's fun to see Taproom in places like that here in Tokyo accepting Bitcoin Cash directly.
Do you have any favorite other projects other than Bitcoin Cash? Is there any other project that you really love in the crypto space?
So of course I'm the most interested in Bitcoin Cash because it has the biggest network effect and works the best as cash, and has one of the biggest user bases out of any cryptocurrency. So I'm the most interested in Bitcoin Cash, but I'm also a fan of the other privacy coins because I think that's one of the things that's the most lacking on Bitcoin Cash is fungibility, and fungibility is just another name for privacy. So I like coins like Monero and Zcoin and Zcash, and Dash also has some interesting things when it comes to the governance of Bitcoin itself.
Okay, so privacy coins mainly. No EOS? No EOS? Are you interested in EOS at all? Not really?
I don't know enough about EOS to have much of an opinion other than I see that the price has gone crazy recently. So
true.
I can't comment more than that. But I wish the EOS team good luck, just like I wish every other crypto coin team good luck. Anybody that's building a permissionless platform that allows people around the world to engage in commerce without permission, I'm a big fan of. So, and again, kudos to Open Bazaar as well for trying to build that too.
Right. So another question: Do you use any debit or credit card to spend your crypto? And if so, which one?
So we just use an exchange we try to do everything we can in crypto, and like everybody at Bitcoin.com is paid in Bitcoin Cash. We try to pay most of our bills in Bitcoin Cash, but for the few things that we still can't, we have a credit card that we use for that, and then we'll sell some Bitcoin Cash on the exchange to pay that credit card. So, but a lot of the other guys at the office, I'm sure, would have some recommendations. I think some of them use a Shift card and maybe some other ones, but
okay, I don't use any personally, but yeah, I was curious. Okay, so typical question: what happens to Bitcoin after it's all mined? When the mining finishes, what happens to Bitcoin or any other crypto that's proof of work based? What's going to happen? Because it's not that far away. It's going to be like 100 years or it's not that. What happens after that?
For me, 120 years into the future does seem like far enough away.
We won't see it. You and me won't see it, but it's not that many generations.
Ideas of transhumanism and human life extension and that sort of thing. So I hope to make it. But if we come up with the technology that's required to extend our lifespan so that you and I are going to be here at 120 years from now, we'll probably have superhuman intelligence in the form of AI that will be able to solve the problems or the questions of what happens when the block reward runs out. And the simplest answer today, I think, is that network fees, transaction fees, will just make up the difference for the block reward. But again, we have over 120 years until that's a problem. There's lots more pressing issues in the world today that I think we should focus on rather than what happens 120 years from now for the block reward running out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But so the theory is that there's going to be there's going to be so many transactions that it's going to be worth for miners to just verify transactions, right? That's the theory.
Yep, that's the idea. So you'll have billions of transactions, and even if they're just paying a fraction of a penny, it still adds up to much more security for the network than it has today. And even today, if you look at it, like in 2011, the block reward was like 50 bitcoins per block, and the price was a couple dollars, right? So there wasn't as much value being transmitted on chain, but like in order for us to have the same amount of security that we have right now today, the Bitcoin Cash price or the Bitcoin Core price only has to double every 4 years.
That's nothing, comparing with what we've seen already.
We're doing way more than that. So, yeah.
Right. Okay. So the next one is, what's your favorite way to secure your crypto? I'm sure you're diversified like me. You have paper wallets and hardware, and I'm sure. But is there a specific way that you find that it's the most secure and the most convenient?
Most secure and most convenient.
What would be? I know. Yeah, but
for sure, the most convenient and secure enough for most things is the Bitcoin.com wallet, which I use every day on my phone all the time. And in fact, right here while we're on the call, I prepared another way that's a very nice, secure way to save money. So I made this paper wallet here. This is the public key. I just sent $25 to the public key using my Bitcoin.com wallet. And here's the private key. So anybody with the Bitcoin.com wallet can scan that, and the first person that scans that will get $25 worth of Bitcoin Cash, just like that. So again, if you didn't get it the first time, there it is. So go ahead and scan that. First person to scan it. If you go over to free.bitcoin.com, anyone in the world can get some Bitcoin Cash from our faucet there. You'll get about 15 cents worth of Bitcoin Cash, and that's how myself and most other people in the earlier days of Bitcoin got our first Bitcoin, was for free from a faucet. So give free.bitcoin.com a try. So anyhow, to answer the question, how to use or save Bitcoins, Bitcoin.com wallet is fantastic. Paper wallets are great too. We have a paper wallet generator that you can use offline as well over at tools.bitcoin.com. So you can just visit tools.bitcoin.com and you can make some paper wallets that you can put under your mattress or in a safe or wherever you want there.
What about hardware wallet? Do you use hardware wallet at all? Yeah, also, yeah. You have
yeah. So.
You have a few as well, or?
Yeah, I bought all of them. It's my job to test them all out. Even with on the phone too, I don't just have the Bitcoin.com wallet. I have just about all of the Bitcoin Cash wallets now, and I test them out to see which ones are working well and get ideas for our wallet and see where the ecosystem is going. So, and blockchain.info has a fantastic Bitcoin Cash wallet as well. So kudos to blockchain.info for putting that together on such a great wallet with millions and millions of installs.
Great. So following up on that, did you ever lose Bitcoins because you, for example, lost your private key, or maybe you forgot where you stored it? Or because it happened to me for sure. Some I bought back in 2013 and I lost a few because I cannot find the private keys for the life of me. So did this happen to you?
So the only way I've ever lost any Bitcoins was by leaving them on an exchange that was then hacked or went out of business. So Bitcoin & Co. is the one where I lost the most Bitcoins because I thought I was being clever because I could earn interest on my Bitcoins if I deposited them there. And it was going just fine until it wasn't. And they lost a lot of people's Bitcoins. And then I'm sure lots and lots of other people lost Bitcoins and now got to. So the best advice I can give to people is hold your Bitcoins yourself in your own wallet or on your own paper wallet or on your own phone. Don't leave them on an exchange.
Yeah, that's a great advice. Okay, so now I'm gonna, I have here a few questions from my followers that wanted me to ask you. So I'm just gonna read them literally. This is not my words. In fact, this first question, I don't really know very much what this is, but it says, I want to know what's going to happen to the Omni layer if Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Core flip happens. So I'm not familiar with the Omni layer. I'm not sure if yeah,
I can explain to you. So Omni layer is like a layer 2 protocol on top of Bitcoin originally, and when Bitcoin split into Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin Cash, like everything, it was technologically it had to follow the Bitcoin Core chain, and that's what things like Tether are built on top of. So what's going to happen if there's a flipping? Well, if Bitcoin Core loses all of its hash rate and comes to a screeching halt, that's going to be a big, giant mess on a number of layers. But the Omni team and other teams are busy working on creating Omni layer for Bitcoin Cash. And there's a GitHub there with some stuff happening on that. And so maybe they'll just be able to port the entire state of the Omni layer stuff happening on Bitcoin Core directly to Bitcoin Cash at that point. But Bitcoin Core, it's a little bit scary to hold Bitcoin Core with the way the difficulty adjustment happens for the mining process. Whereas with Bitcoin Cash, it's much, much safer because it can adjust dynamically as time goes by, whereas Bitcoin Core doesn't. So if a bunch of hash rate switches over to Bitcoin Cash in a hurry, there's a scenario that's definitely imaginable in which Bitcoin Core could come to a screeching halt and the blocks basically stop being produced. And that would be a big problem for any Bitcoin Core holder.
So regarding to this question about the Omni layer, is this concerning for both Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core, or just for Bitcoin Core, or is this a big concern at all? Or
it's only a problem for Bitcoin Core, and it's only a problem for holders of Omni layer tokens on Bitcoin Core.
Okay.
For everybody else, it's not directly a problem.
Okay. If developers of Bitcoin Cash found some way to overcome scaling infinitely and virtually instant transactions, but it went against the original white paper, Roger, would you implement this with Bitcoin Cash? And before you answer this, I'm thinking now, this is what they're trying to do already with Lightning Network. So, I mean, the question is a little bit open, right? Because it depends what's going to change in the white paper. There's some things you maybe can change and it's no big deal, but other things are.
Yeah, so the short answer is, of course, I want to use whatever works. And right now we have proof that Bitcoin Cash works as money and Bitcoin Core doesn't. And we already have an indefinite scaling solution on Bitcoin Cash, and that's just to allow the blocks to become as big as they need to be. So Rick Falkbeing made a fantastic video explaining this, and it's the same thing Rick and I and a bunch of other people have been saying for years. So Bitcoin transactions on the Bitcoin network scale linearly, but the size of the blocks can scale exponentially thanks to Moore's law. So if you have the underlying hardware scaling exponentially, but the number of transactions scale linearly, that's your long-term scaling solution right there. All you have to do is just use better, bigger blocks with better hardware year after year that cost less money than the year before. So we already have a long-term scaling solution for the entire world to be able to use Bitcoin Cash. And these Lightning Network supporters are basically risked the entire ecosystem on an unproven technology that doesn't work today. I hope Lightning Network works, but it doesn't work today. And if and when it does work, it'll work better, faster, cheaper, and more reliably on top of Bitcoin Cash. But yeah, to answer this question, like if we found some sort of a hypothetical technology to overcome scaling issues.
But the question is, it goes against the white paper.
Yeah, but it went against the white paper. I'd be just fine with it, but I don't necessarily think that we would even need to build it on top of Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin Cash. It could just stand on its own merit, and people could build it without hijacking the original project either. But again, with the Lightning Network, we don't have any empirical evidence whatsoever that it will work. Whereas with Bitcoin Cash, we have 8 years of empirical evidence showing that it worked incredibly well. So.
Okay, so another one. Your catchphrase is Bitcoin is slow, expensive to use, and unreliable, while Bitcoin Cash is fast, cheap to use, and reliable. And he's asking, I agree that Bitcoin can be slow and can be costly, but I don't understand how Bitcoin is unreliable and how Bitcoin Cash solved this and now it's reliable.
Sure. So when the blocks are full on the Bitcoin network, instead of your transaction being included in the next block every 10 minutes on average, in December, transactions were waiting for days and days in the mempool. So instead of your transaction going through right away, in the next block, you'd have to wait days, or some transactions never even made it through at all. So when the blocks are full, the network becomes unreliable. Whereas with Bitcoin Cash, there's always additional room in the blocks. So your transactions always go through right away in the very next block.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, if you're using it to transact, if you're buying goods and services from somewhere and you're using Bitcoin and then they don't receive the transaction until 2 weeks later, how is this reliable at all? So this person says, I am currently invested in Litecoin. Sell me on why Bitcoin Cash is better than Litecoin.
I think the main thing that Bitcoin Cash has going forward that's better than Litecoin is a bigger network effect. The transactions are just as fast, cheap, and reliable on Bitcoin Cash, if not more so than Litecoin. But you have hundreds of thousands of merchants you can spend your Bitcoin Cash at, whereas I'm not sure how many merchants there are that you can spend Litecoin at, but I'm sure it's nowhere near that number. So the network effect is incredibly important for currency. So if you're using a currency that nobody else is using, it's not very useful. So Litecoin definitely has a following, but the following and the number of merchants and wallets and things available on the Bitcoin Cash ecosystem is just dwarfs the Litecoin ecosystem at this point. So
yeah,
but I wish guys good luck as well.
No, that's true. I agree with that. And on top of that, it's also Litecoin. It's also limited to 1 megabyte block, right? So I mean, I think it's 1 megabyte block as well. So if it went mainstream, it would have the exact same problem as Bitcoin Core. So it's not only the network effect, but it's also
There's actually an interesting thing about it, and it just drives me nuts that people don't see the insanity of this. So Charlie Lee, the creator of Litecoin, said in an interview, if the blocks ever became full on Litecoin, he would just increase the block size. Well, he's busy recommending that Bitcoin never ever does it. So Charlie made one of the biggest competitors to Bitcoin, and he's busy out there preaching to the world hey, Bitcoin, you should strangle your on-chain capacity to make your transactions slow, expensive, and unreliable. and everybody should just use Litecoin instead. And how can people, but so many people get fooled. They're like, yeah, we should use Litecoin instead of Bitcoin. Like, well, if you want to use Litecoin, that's fine. But like this guy is recommending that Bitcoin commit suicide so that people use Litecoin instead. And all these Bitcoin supporters are saying, yeah, let's commit suicide with our Bitcoin chain and I'll use Litecoin instead. Like, how can you be so stupid to fall for that?
People just believe anything that goes online. It amazes me.
Amazes and frustrates me at the same time.
Yeah, I like this one too. So when most people that I know think of cryptocurrency, they think of Bitcoin. How does Bitcoin Cash overcome Bitcoin's brand recognition and first in market advantage to establish itself in the coming years as the default go-to cryptocurrency for individuals and business? Yeah, how is this going to happen? How do you see this happening?
I think it's going to happen just by the user experience. Anybody that tries to use Bitcoin Core and they see the transaction fees and the slow, unreliable transactions, and then they look at the other options that are out there available. So Bitcoin Cash, of course, but Litecoin, Dash, Zcash, there's a bunch of them out there, and they'll look at those and they'll decide which one of those is the most useful. And if you look at it today, Bitcoin Cash probably is in at the top of that list because it has the most number of merchants accepting it, the most websites, the most wallets, the most exchanges, the most infrastructure built up around it. And I don't really know you I've just talked to you a little bit today and I've watched a couple of your videos in the past, but when you said that you were using Bitcoin daily for transactions and now you like Bitcoin Cash, that didn't surprise me one bit because that's exactly why I'm a Bitcoin Cash fan today, because I used to use Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin before it split into Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin Cash. I was using it all the time for transactions all over the world with people every single day. And when the transactions became slow, expensive, and unreliable, I needed an alternative. And I looked at all the other crypto coins out there, and of course, Bitcoin Cash was the one that was right there at the top of the list because it has the most infrastructure and the most wallets and exchanges and people using it around the world. So how is it going to overcome Bitcoin Core's brand recognition and the BTC ticker symbol to a better user experience? And we're already seeing that happen time and time again. If anybody's unconvinced about this, try using both of them. Send your friend $5 of Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin Cash and have them send both of them back to you. And you will hardly get anything back of your Bitcoin Core, but you'll get all of it back of Bitcoin Cash. And that'll show you which one's a better form of money.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so before Bitcoin Cash came into existence, I was only using Bitcoin BTC, of course. And since Bitcoin Cash came into existence, for like everything I was doing before with BTC, I was able to do it in Bitcoin Cash. For example, the payment gateway that I use on my websites to get paid, they integrated Bitcoin Cash right away. In fact, they were waiting for Bitcoin Unlimited before, because we didn't know what was going to happen exactly, and Bitcoin Cash came like in the last minute. But before, it was going to be Bitcoin Unlimited. So for everything that I was using Bitcoin BTC before, they integrated Bitcoin Cash right away as soon as it came into existence. I, for example, I pay for my hosting services as well for my different websites. I pay for my hosting I used to pay in BTC. As soon as Bitcoin Cash came, they accepted Bitcoin Cash. So it was not hard at all for me to switch from one to the other one because everybody was, they adapted it right away because obviously they could not use BTC anymore. It was unusable completely. So everybody rushed into using Bitcoin Cash. So yeah, it's accepted everywhere.
That was my experience as well. Bitcoin became unusable and we need a currency that, now the Bitcoin Core user experience isn't so horrible. Maybe the fees are 50 cents or $1, but who cares? We need money that's reliable month after month, year after year, consistently. Not at work sometimes and then not at other times. But what was the payment gateway that you were using? Let's give them credit where credit was due.
They are awesome, actually. It's called rocketer.net. It's like rocket, like a rocket, but finishing with an R, so rocketer.net. And I use them for several years now. And before, in the beginning, I used to use them for PayPal because I was only accepting PayPal. And then in mid 2016 or so, I started using it with Bitcoin as well, BTC, because they integrated it. So I started using, and I had on my websites both options, PayPal and Bitcoin. And then at the end of 2016, I removed PayPal altogether. I dropped it and I started only accepting BTC. And then in August, when we had Bitcoin Cash, they integrated Bitcoin Cash. But before Bitcoin Cash, they added Ethereum because it became so difficult to use BTC because of the transaction speed. Like it was never getting confirmed and it was so expensive. So they put Ethereum, I think, before they put Bitcoin Cash. And now today they have BTC, BCH, Ethereum, and Litecoin, I believe, and also PayPal. But they're awesome. I've used them for years, and yeah, they integrated Bitcoin Cash right away. Yeah.
Right here. So Rocket and then the letter R.com. I believe.
.net, .net, I think.
.net. I'm sorry.
Yeah, .net. Yeah.
R.net.
Yeah. A very good experience with them. I like them. Okay, so I think I asked you everything I wanted to ask, but we're going to finish this with the classic question of price predictions, of course. So where do you see Bitcoin, both BTC and BCH price by the end of this year, and also by the next time when the block reward is cut in half? I think it's going to happen in the 2020 or 2021. Where do you see the price of both at the peak of the next bubble, if we even have another bubble? What do you think?
The short answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do think that there will be more bubbles with Bitcoin Cash for sure, and maybe there'll be some more with Bitcoin Core. But I think we'll see Bitcoin Cash continue to gain ground on Bitcoin Core. In fact, I'll pull up the stats right here while we're on the call.
Yes, please.
So over the last 6 months, for example, over the last 6 months, Bitcoin Core is up 0.2%, and in the last 6 months, Bitcoin Cash is up right about the same. So, for example, the last hasn't been so good either. The last 3 months, Bitcoin Core though is down 17%. Bitcoin Cash is down about 4%. So anyhow, if you look at it, Bitcoin Cash is definitely gaining ground on Bitcoin Core, and that'll continue here into the future. That's my prediction. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, it's buying the price of Bitcoin Cash today. It's like being able to buy Bitcoin for 1/10 of the price. You know, it's like, to me, it's a freaking good deal. You know, it's like, because it's the exact same thing Bitcoin was before, the exact same thing. So, but yeah, to get a little bit more specific, what by the end of 2018, what do you think for both?
I think Bitcoin Cash can easily double again before the end of the year, so maybe $2,500 or so by the end of the year is very possible. And I think Bitcoin Core, I think it'll just kind of flounder. I don't think it'll go up double. I don't think it'll double. Sorry, I think the gains of Bitcoin Cash will far outweigh the gains of Bitcoin Core because Bitcoin Cash is getting adopted more and more around the world for people to use in commerce. Bitcoin Core isn't having any of that happen. So.
Right. And just, I know no one knows this, but what do you think? And then at the peak of the next bubble in the 2020 or 2021, what's the price that you see for Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core?
I think Bitcoin Core will just kind of stay around the level that it's at, is my guess. And I think the next big bubble, I think we could see Bitcoin Cash hit $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. I think that's really the realm of possibility at the next big bubble.
Not bad.
But it depends on how much more merchant adoption it is. So it's up to us to tell our friends and family and get them using it and show them how it works and tell people about free.bitcoin.com to get some free Bitcoin Cash for anyone anywhere in the world.
Of course, yeah. Okay, Roger, so I think I'm done here with the questions. Thank you so much for joining me. I know you're a busy person, so thank you very much for being here. Do you want to add any other thing for the viewers or anything?
Yeah, watch Helga's other videos. She made a fantastic video explaining what would happen price-wise from the time of the Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin Cash fork. If you had sold your Bitcoin Core for Bitcoin Cash, sold your Bitcoin Cash for Bitcoin Core, or just held both of them. And she made it very, very clear and easy to understand. And I recommend that everybody watch that video. And I think that trend is going to continue because that video demonstrates very clearly that Bitcoin Cash is a better investment than Bitcoin Core. And the reason Bitcoin Cash is a better investment is because it's better money. And that's why it's getting more adoption around the world in commerce.
True. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I'll leave it here. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.